Imagine this. You wake up and find yourself in a place surrounded by nothing but ocean. No people, no sounds, no phone signal, no Google Maps, no food, no water. Just wilderness, silence, and a deserted island. And now, imagine, you're not stuck there for just a day or two, but for 4 whole years. Yes, 4 years. Without human contact, without technology, without help. Surviving only on your courage and intelligence. Ever thought about it? If your Wi-Fi goes down for an hour, you start losing your mind. Now think about the man who survived 4 years without people, without tools, without hope, and made history. His name was Alexander Selkirk, a Scottish sailor who, in a moment of anger, jumped off a ship and ended up trapped on an island where every single moment was a fight for survival. Now you'll ask, wait, who was this guy? And what exactly did he do? Well, listen up. Selkirk hunted goats, made fire from stones, stitched his own clothes, and befriended wild cats just to stay sane. This is a story about fighting loneliness, battling hunger, fear, and hopelessness, and showing the world how limitless human strength can be in the most limited conditions. And the craziest part? His real-life survival story later inspired the most famous survival novel of all time, Robinson Crusoe. But here's the big question. Did Alexander save himself, or was it just luck? Could you survive something like this? And most importantly, why did he choose to leave himself stranded on a deadly island? In this video, we'll uncover the biggest regret of his life, the scariest nights in the jungle, and the day when a ship finally spotted him after 4 years. So don't skip this video, because this story will shake your beliefs to the core. Selkirk the Recording the Cars Alex was born in 1676 in a small village in Scotland called Lower Largo, a village that had the sea, but no guarantee of dreams coming true. He came from a large family, and financially, you could say, they were barely getting by. From childhood, Alexander was different, mischievous, sharp-minded, but hot-headed. He even got into arguments at church. People say he was born with 2 things, stubbornness and a hunger for freedom. Now just imagine, a boy who hated rules, who didn't like being told what to do. How could someone like that live a normal life? And that's where this story begins. Alexander left home and became a sailor. But becoming a sailor wasn't some movie-like dream. Back then, life at sea meant constant danger, diseases, pirates, storms, and worst of all, the captain's cruelty. Alexander knew all this, but still, he chose the sea. Maybe he needed an open battlefield for his anger and stubbornness. And what's a bigger battlefield than the ocean? But was he just trying to escape, or was he chasing something? Something that would eventually lead him to the edge of death. Alexander Selkirk had now become a sailor, and he got a big opportunity to board a private ship of that era called the Cinque Ports, an English ship sent on a mission to loot Spanish vessels and hunt for treasure. Now sure, it all sounds super exciting. Gold, adventure, the ocean, but the reality was the complete opposite. From the very beginning, the ship was in terrible shape. The wood was cracking, sailors were falling sick, and the captain's attitude? Just keep going. If you die, I don't care. Alexander, who had always been rebellious, started getting nervous after seeing the condition of the ship. Just imagine, you book an Uber and find out the driver's drunk, the brakes don't work, and Google Maps says, proceed at your own risk. Would you stay in the car or jump out? Alexander made up his mind right there. If I stay on this ship, I'm not going to survive. Then one day, the ship stopped at a deserted island to collect fresh water, and Selkirk said to the captain, either fix this ship or leave me here. The captain replied, fine, stay. And just like that, the ship sailed away. Alexander was left behind, alone, on an unknown island. No people, no way to return. He thought another ship might come in a few days, but what he didn't know was, no ship would come for the next 4 years. Alexander was now completely alone, a deserted island, surrounded by the sea. No food, no clothes, no humans. At first, he thought, it's just a matter of a few days. A ship will come and take me. But days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And then came the harsh truth. You're trapped on this island, and if you want to survive, you'll have to do it on your own. Now just imagine, a man with no knife, no GPS, no lighter, no food. So what did Selkirk do? He searched the hills and found wild goats, chased them down, caught them with pure effort, and somehow cooked the meat. But how do you make fire? By rubbing stones together, creating sparks, using smoke to start a flame, like a prehistoric man. Then came the scariest face of loneliness. Alexander feared he might go insane, so he made a few friends, wild cats. Yes, the same cats that came near his hut at night. Alexander would feed them, and they would stay close to him. These cats not only gave him company, but also protected his food from rats, which would have ruined everything he gathered. Gradually, he made clothes out of grass and tree bark, built a hut to protect himself from the rain, hunted during the day, and counted stars at night. Each day he fought a new battle: hunger, fear, loneliness. But the biggest fear? The fear of being forgotten. Would anyone ever come looking for him? Would he ever see another human face again? But the story doesn't end here, because the real twist is just about to happen. One day he saw a ship on the horizon, but was that ship there to rescue him, or had it come to bring death? In the next part, we'll find out, when hope turns into a whole new challenge. One day, Alexander was sitting on a hill, just like he did every day, eyes locked onto the ocean, hoping someone would come, hoping someone would see him. And then suddenly, his eyes caught something: a ship. His breathing quickened, his heart began to pound, hope surged through his veins. He lit a fire, created smoke, shouted with all his might, "Hey, over here!" All he had was smoke and the power to scream. But as the ship got closer, Alexander noticed something strange: the flag. It was Spanish. What did that mean? Enemy. Now remember, back then, England and Spain were at war. Alexander was from Scotland, meaning he was with the English. And this ship, it belonged to Spanish pirates. Now the big question was, will I be saved or captured? If those pirates found out he was their enemy, they would either make him a slave or shoot him right there on the spot. Alexander had to make a split-second decision. Run! He sprinted toward the jungle, hid behind the rocks, barely breathing, heart racing like thunder. The ship stayed for a few hours, came close to the shore, but Alexander stayed hidden. After a while, the ship sailed away. Alexander had survived. But now, along with hope, fear had moved in. He realized something chilling. Not every ship brings rescue. Some ships bring death. And the day would come when the right ship would finally arrive. But before that, Alexander would have to learn how to live all over again. Are you ready for the next chapter? Now, let's move to the most emotional and thrilling turning point of this unbelievable story. After 4 years of loneliness, hunger, fear, and hope, that day finally arrived. The day Alexander had dreamed of. Every single day, every sleepless night. Days passed, weeks, months, years. Alexander had now become part of the island. He no longer feared the jungle. He no longer panicked at the silence. He had adapted to the wilderness. But still, in one small corner of his heart, a tiny flame of hope kept burning. Every morning he'd climb the hill. Every day he'd stare at the ocean. Maybe today, someone will come. And then, after 4 years, 4 months, and 4 days, Alexander's eyes saw it again, a ship. But this time, it was different. It was the British Royal Navy ship, Duke. Alexander didn't hesitate. He lit a fire, created smoke, shouted once again. But this time, the ship stopped. Moments later, sailors arrived in a small boat, and Alexander, he didn't run. He stood there, a weak body, tangled hair, wearing clothes made from animal skins. But in his eyes, a fire of triumph. The sailors stared in shock. "Who are you?" Alexander replied, "I'm a British sailor, trapped here. 4 years ago." The sailors lifted him up, gave him food, clean clothes, and brought him on board. Alexander had survived, without machines, without people, without any modern help. When he returned to England, he was welcomed as a hero. His story was so incredible that a writer decided to turn it into a book called Robinson Crusoe. Today, it's one of the most famous survival novels in the world. Now think about it. Today, we panic if the internet goes down for 10 minutes. But Alexander survived 4 years in a jungle, without humans, without internet, and without giving up. Alexander Selkirk's story teaches us one powerful truth, that when a human decides to survive, he can fight nature, conquer loneliness, and even battle himself. So the next time life feels hard, remember the man who lit a lamp of hope in the middle of a deserted island and carved his name into the pages of history, all with courage and unbreakable will. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and let me know in the comments if you were in Alexander's place. Would you survive?